Okay, let's have a look at this article here. FBI hosts Five Eyes Summit to launch drive to secure innovation in response to intelligence threats. And here you can see this is a meeting with the FBI and a number of others from representatives from the other Five Eyes countries, one of them being the director of CSIS here in Canada. That would be that gentleman there. I believe his name is David Vigneault. And that is a person who I filed a Freedom of Information request to asking to disclose whether or not I had been placed on one of these watch lists unjustifiably. They refused to acknowledge that Freedom of Information request and ignored it. So it shows you how legitimate and transparent these people are. But anyway, you can see all of them getting together there to basically plan these activities, what they're going to be doing. And it says, in their first ever joint public appearance, leaders of the Five Eyes Intelligence Partnership, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand traveled to the U.S. at the invitation of FBI Director Christopher Wray. Together, they are launching the first Emerging Technology and Innovation Security Summit in Palo Alto, California, the heart of Silicon Valley. In addition to the Five Eyes, the summit is bringing together business leaders and entrepreneurs, government officials, and academics to discuss threats to innovation, coming trends in the use and potential exploitation of emerging tech, and means to work together to advance both economic security and public safety. And so, prosperity and security, yet the threats to innovation are increasing in both scale and complexity. To meet this challenge, CSIS is working proactively with FVEYS partners, private sector leaders, and academia to secure our future and to ensure the safety, security, and prosperity of Canada. Yeah, and he's doing that by us having people harass and stalk law-abiding citizens who've done nothing wrong. It's just ridiculous. All of these people are involved in this type of thing. And of course, what they're doing as well with these whole meetings they're having and things like this, they're trying to push this whole fake narrative thing about China being involved in spying and things like that within Canada, which is just nonsense. If you look at the CSIS Twitter page, literally everything they post here is an inversion of the truth. It's just lies. It's absolutely laughable. Literally everything. Attention, Canadian professional scientists and academics. CSIS is aware of hostile state actors. Probably referring to like just dissidents and people with views that they don't approve of. Hostile state actors currently targeting Canadian professional scientists and academics in an effort to obtain Canadian knowledge and expertise. Yeah, that's definitely happening. And you can see all Canadians have a role to play in protecting Canada against foreign interference. So again, they're referring to this whole psyop with using China as the scapegoat. Fact of the matter is that China does not even do anything of its own volition. They have people who control them. Look at this right here. I mean, how much more obvious does it have to be? Now, if you see this picture, that's Chairman Mao and Henry Kissinger. And I believe the person in the middle, I think, is Gerald Ford, and you can see the big grin on his face. Chairman Mao was put into his position by the people who control the banks, and obviously Kissinger played a major role in that, as he has played a major role in fomenting so much bloodshed over the years. And none of these revolutions, quote unquote, are legitimate. They're all funded by these monsters who create all these wars and who basically insert their people into puppet positions in all of these countries, using the CIA to do so. So, of course, Kissinger, a big part of that. If you think Chairman Mao just came up out of nowhere and seized power, no. He was put into his position. And China receives instructions, and they are a puppet government just like all the others. So they're not acting of their own volition, but this media psyop to present them as the villain who are spying and all this stuff, it has been going on for quite some time, because this whole operation has been planned, was planned many years ago. So they're just following the whole script with that at the present time. And here's more on David Vigneault, the director of CSIS, net worth, biography, and CSIS salary. So this man is an absolute sociopath and a sick, deranged psychopath. He would not be put into this position in charge of targeting law-abiding citizens who have done nothing wrong, and basically attempting to have them murdered, essentially. At the end of the day, that's what it amounts to. Of course, he doesn't get his hands dirty, but he pulls the strings, and this is one of those people who runs the operation, a very sick, deranged sociopath. And of course, net worth, it says net worth of $2 million, but I highly doubt that. I think he's probably worth a lot more than that. And then most recent salary, $320,000 a year to set up operations to harass and stalk people who have done nothing wrong and committed no crime, and terrorize Canadian citizens. Everything that this organization does is the opposite of what it says it does. It is an absolute inversion. Everything they say is an inversion. They aren't trying to keep Canadians safe. They're actually targeting law-abiding Canadian citizens with these organized harassment campaigns, attacking every aspect of their lives. And there's not. The problem is there's no way you can contest these things, which makes it inhumane and just criminal, outright criminal, because you cannot contest your being on any one of these watch lists. It is done all behind closed doors, and they're essentially putting you on this list and attacking every aspect of your life and slandering you, subjecting you to slander, workplace mobbing, continual harassment, harassment from first responders and public servants who take part in these things and know very well that the people who they're harassing, stalking, and targeting have done nothing wrong. But this man is a very sick, deranged psychopath. And again, they're not going to put somebody into that position who isn't that. So that's why he's there. But you can see him there. He is the person responsible for these attacks against law-abiding Canadian citizens who simply may have just opposing views or may not agree with the government, or whistleblowers and truth speakers. He is the person responsible for that. He is a sick psychopath, and really should be doing prison time. But you can't expect that when you have police that are as corrupt and a judicial system that is as laughably corrupt as we have here. So again, $320,000 a year to this monster, this murderer, to run these operations which target and harass Canadian citizens, law-abiding Canadian citizens who have done nothing wrong. He's a disgrace, this man. And again, the total lack of transparency and the inability of any of the people who have been placed unjustifiably on these lists, despite having done nothing wrong, committed no crime, is inhumane, and it is absolutely unacceptable in a democracy. But as long as his pockets get fatter and his bank account gets more bloated, he's fine with it, and he probably enjoys these things too. So a very sick, deranged psychopath. It says Vigneault made headlines on February 9th, 2021 when he spoke to the Center for International Governance Innovation. Interesting name there. In David's first public speech since he was appointed director, he named Russia, China, and Cuba as quote-unquote countries of concern. All puppet governments, puppet governments that have been put into their positions. There are no sovereign governments at the present time who aren't, basically controlled by the CIA and the military-industrial complex that has inserted these puppets into their positions over the years. He said that state actors, again, there's that term again, have done significant harm to Canadian companies and pose a significant danger to Canada's prosperity and sovereignty. Again, he's just basically referring to, China and things of that nature, using them as the scapegoat and, trying to present truth speakers and dissidents as being enemies somehow of the state. And that's what it is. It's a communist state. It is a one-world communist government. This guy takes directions. Obviously, CSIS, in my opinion, CSIS is just a front group, another tentacle of the CIA, which essentially has control worldwide right now. And you may have already seen this video that I have here with this gentleman in the thumbnail. That is one of the police officers who was sent to harass me and stalk me and basically park outside of my workplace and just sit there while there was no one else around and while the street was completely empty, as a means of sending a message of threatening and intimidation. And when I went out to request the badge number of this person, because they had been doing this continually over and over again, and they had been doing the same thing in Toronto, this Ottawa police officer, he provided his badge number, but then he went to my employer and stirred up a fuss simply because I asked him for his badge number, something I had every right to do. And so they abruptly terminated me from that position while giving no reason why. So this psychopath here went and tried to get me fired from my job simply for asking for him to do what he is supposed to do as a public servant and provide his badge number. He's a deranged, sick psychopath. His name is Donald Duff, and he is a sergeant with the Ottawa Police. And we're going to take a look at his salary here, because we have this disclosure site here where they do give the salaries of some of these officers here. So you'll see here, the most recent they have is 2022, and it appears that in 2022, that was when Officer Duff was promoted to the position of sergeant. That year, he made $164,854 for stalking people, misrepresenting his job, abusing his position of authority, and knowingly partaking in criminal harassment campaigns against law-abiding citizens, and then going to my employer and demanding that I be fired simply for asking for his identification for his badge number. So that's what he made there. $165,854 for parking in front of my work and sitting there and doing nothing, and then abusing his position of authority to try and affect my job. So we'll take a look at another person here who has also played a role in the stalking and harassment campaign against me, and his salary. And this man here on the left of the photo there is Constable Adam Majid, a special constable with the city of Ottawa. And he's a person, you may recognize him from some of my videos. He showed up to partake in these stalking and harassment campaigns like 5 or 6 times now, showing up right when I arrive at places, and then, you know, also performing these silly little staged acting skits that they're told to do as a means of creating plausible deniability for the stalking and harassment. And it's interesting because one night, you may have seen this video, I actually had a conversation with Constable Majid. And, you know, he seemed to come off as being somewhat sincere and listen to what I had to say. And, you know, I had a little bit of a short discussion. But nonetheless, I know how these people operate, and they're extremely deceptive, and mostly all of them are sociopaths. They're trained in gaslighting techniques. So you can't think you're going to have any legitimate, honest conversation with people like that. So, of course, after having the conversation and explaining to him that, listen, I've done nothing wrong, and I believe I've been placed on a watch list by CSIS, he pretended that he didn't know that these things were happening. And I explained to him that the chances of, you know, him and his fellow constables showing up right as I arrived that many times with such precise timing and synchronization were zero. And so he would just make things up and say, oh, well, we just had a call here. We just had a call here. You know what I mean? Just had a call every time I went somewhere, right? The moment I got there. So obviously lying about that. But after that, it was interesting. Just a short time after, a few days later, right after having that conversation with Constable Majid and explaining to him that this is happening to me. It's a harassment campaign. I have no criminal record. I don't associate with any people who are involved in any sort of nefarious activities. I've never had so much as even a parking ticket in my life. So he knows that. He knows that I've done nothing wrong. He shows up right as I arrive at the train station and does another little stage skit where he's pretending to remove some vagrant, and that was all done to send a message that he's a liar and the whole thing was contrived, the conversation, and that he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's just a sociopath. So that's him there. That's Adam Majid, the Ottawa Special Constable. We'll probably see more of him because he's been stalking me basically since I got here, continually. So let's take a look at Constable Majid's salary here. So this is from, okay, so a 2023 update. So the most recent they have for him is 2022, and you can see Adam Majid made $143,855 to stalk people, to set up fake little acting skits, to be involved in staged events, more than likely also involved in the distribution of narcotics, although with him we can't prove that for sure, although with members of the Ottawa Police it's very obvious. So yeah, That's the situation with him. He made $143,855 to stalk people, to misrepresent his job, to lie openly, like a sociopath, to participate in gaslighting, utilize gaslighting techniques, and to do these things to people who he knows have done nothing wrong and committed no crime and pose no danger or risk to anyone else around. So that to me is an exceptionally dishonest person, and yet he's making that type of a salary to do these things to people. When you see these things going on, you realize we don't live in a democracy here at all. It is a dictatorship, and things like this are disgraceful.